What is the best way to take notes from a book to remember its key ideas? If you are reading a book, you feel that you have read a part that sticks out to you. What I actually suggest is not taking notes just to take notes. What I suggest is that you try to take this practice, implement it into your day-to-day. This will help with retention, also implementation. No matter how much you read, you could get stuck in the idea that you just need to write things down or keep taking notes. However, when you're reading, you're not really supposed to just read and let things be. You're supposed to read and self-improve in some way, shape, or form. If you read something that really sparks your interest, you think to yourself, this is a better way of living life. If I lived on this level, I would feel happier with myself or with those around me. You would feel that you're impacting those around you in a positive way, or you feel like you're impacting those around you in a way that you haven't done before. You feel a level of self-appreciation. If you read this thing to be true, instead of writing it down, what I suggest that you do, pick a time in your day to try practicing it. If you find it difficult, you have to ask yourself, how am I going to make this work? Taking notes is ideal. However, you will often take the notes, write it down, and forget about it. If you're really trying to take notes to remember a key idea, think about how you can add it to your day-to-day. If the key idea is to listen before you speak, what you should be doing is you can have conversation with your friends, just listen. You can have conversations with your parents, just listen. Once you find that you've actually listened and retained what they said, then you can go into responding. The first thing that you have to ask yourself in your conscious being now is, am I actually listening? When you take key ideas from a book, often what happens is trying not to be wrong stops you from being right. In your implementation of this idea in your day-to-day, you should be revisiting the book, asking yourself, am I doing this the way that I envisioned it? You can just read and say, I got it, this is exactly what I need to do, and continue living on. You're not really doing things the way that you envision it. Because you don't want to revisit this idea, you're gonna end up doing it wrong each and every time. You could go and say, I'm gonna listen to my parents talk, only listening to the first 10 seconds. Well, did you implement it? Sort of. You're not really implementing it in a way that you seek. In order to become a better listener, you have to take the time to actually listen. To become a better reader, you have to take the time to actually read. As you are implementing this idea into your life, you need to make sure that you're giving it the adequate amount of time to develop into your character and ingrain itself into your DNA. Once you've attained that, but I suggest picking 3 things most to aim for, because when you try to implement too much, what starts to happen is your brain doesn't really prioritize everything to the same level, and you don't really form the habit. It's an aimless chase in implementing the idea because you're trying to implement too much at a time. You only have 24 hours in a day. If you need to spend 6 to 8 of those hours sleeping, you're not gonna just be doing that one thing the entire day. You gotta ask yourself, am I realistically setting goals to implement the idea that I'm seeking? Rather than just writing down notes in a book or writing down notes in a notebook, my suggestion is you take the idea, implement it into your real life.